Welcome. My name is Scott Leppard, and I'm the Dean of the College of Health Sciences. And I'd like to welcome you to this wonderful ceremony today. It's the first time we've been able to hold this ceremony in the new Student Center. It's a wonderful venue. Friends, family, faculty, and staff, PA students of the class 2021. This is an exciting day in many ways. The first time I've met most of you. So I'd like to personally welcome you to the College of Health Sciences. Today you'll begin an exciting journey that is kicked off with this ceremony, one that you'll hear more about from Dr. Weaver and give you the history of a white coat ceremony. Trust that throughout your journey you won't be alone. Your faculty will guide you. Your classmates will support you. Your friends and family will encourage you. And always remember the College of Health Sciences will provide you with a foundation for success. You start this exciting journey to become the next generation of healthcare providers to the Commonwealth, where health disparity is one of the critical barriers to healthy lifestyles. And it's not just Kentucky that needs you. It's the nation. It's the world. We cannot produce enough physicians to meet the demands for health care. Therefore, you become the gateway to global health. This is a daunting task that comes with tremendous responsibility. But I'm confident that you are all perfectly positioned for this challenge. You were selected from hundreds of qualified applicants to enter into this outstanding PA program. You will be educated by faculty who are at the top of their field. You'll participate in an academic medical center that is emerging as one of the top in the country. And this college is committed to providing the best healthcare professionals that will enter the healthcare field in 2021. So therefore, we hope you enjoy your journey the next 2.5 years as students in the PA program. When you need us, call upon us, and Godspeed. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Scott Black. I'm the program director for the UK Physician Assistant Studies program. And the first thing I would like to do, I think, Julia, you told me this as we were walking in, this is the largest audience, the largest crowd we have had for a white coat ceremony. So one thing I would like the students to do is stand up, turn around, and let's give this audience a big round of applause for supporting us so much. Good job. And then the next thing I'd like to do is acknowledge that the UKPAS program has joined the 21st century, because I think for the first time we're streaming this live. Yeah. So there's a quote that, and I don't even know if this is an accurate quote or not, but it's attributed to Mark Twain. And there's some debate whether he actually said this or not, but it makes a great story, so I'm going to tell it to you anyway. He said, "When the end of the world comes, I want to be in Kentucky, because things happen 20 years late there." And it may very well be that we finally have joined the 21st century in the UKPA program. I thought it would also be a good idea to play a little round of Jeopardy this morning with you, or this afternoon with you guys. So I'm going to give you an answer, and we're going to see who can come up with the question. So the answer is 78.6. And I'll give you one clue, it's not the average of the physiology exam. So 78.6. I wish it was the average of the physiology exam. 78.6. What would that be? Yeah. Where? What life expectancy? And make it in the form of a question. What is the U.S. life expectancy? So very good. Kentucky, the average life expectancy is 76. Okay, so the U.S. average is 78.6. Men a little less, women a little more. But when we get to Kentucky, our average life expectancy is 76. And as we talk about that, let me take you on just a little bit of a journey. I hope this makes a point. Let's start in Lexington. And what I'd like you to do is think about getting on the interstate. You're on 64 and you're headed east. So you're headed toward West Virginia, 64 east. You go about 20 miles or so. You're going to get off the road on the Mountain Parkway. You turn right, head kind of southeast on the Mountain Parkway. And by my calculations, you go about another 25 miles. And those of you that have been to Red River Gorge, you know where you get off. You get off at the Slade exit. And you get to the bottom of the exit. Instead of turning left to go to Red River Gorge, we're turning right, and we're going to head south down 11. Okay, so now we're heading more into the mountains in Kentucky. You come to Beattyville, you keep going on 11. You come to Highway 30, you bear east, and we end up in Booneville, which I believe is the county seat of Owsley County. To get there, you've traveled an hour and 35 minutes by Google, and about 84 miles from downtown Lexington to get there. So can anybody tell me what just happened when you went from Lexington to Booneville? And no, you can't, because you can't read my mind. But here's the point I want to make. If we look at the average life expectancy in Kentucky, and it's around 76, Fayette County is a little better than that. Average man in Fayette County lives to be 76.2, woman 80.5. By the time we get to Booneville, the average life expectancy for a man is 66.4 years. You've lost 10 years of your life. So if you're born, raised, grew up in Fayette County, die in Fayette County, you're going to live 10 years longer if you're a guy than if you're born, grow up, raised, die in Booneville. Women have it a little bit better, 78.5 for Kentucky, 80.5 for Fayette County. In Booneville, it's 74.4. And I'm not picking on Booneville. You could go to almost any eastern Kentucky county, and you're going to get the same sort of things. You can go to certain places in Louisville. You can go to certain places in northern Kentucky, inside the metropolitan areas, and a lot of that's going to be exactly the same. But using Booneville as an example, for every 10 miles you travel out of Lexington, I got the calculator out and figured this out, guys lose 1.2 years for every 10 miles out of Lexington. Women, it's 0.7, so well over half a year of your life just by living in a different location. And what I can tell you is that heart disease and cancer make up about half the deaths. But the major question, the one I want you to think about, is why is that? You know, what's the major difference between Fayette County and Owsley County? And before you go saying, well, he's disparaging Eastern Kentucky, I'm what they call a 606er. And does anybody know what that is? Yeah, I grew up in Eastern Kentucky. I went to school in Eastern Kentucky. I went back and practiced in Eastern Kentucky. So I'm solidly in the camp of being a 606er. My wife has stickers and T-shirts that says 606. So I'm not picking on anything I don't know about. But what I will tell you is that people say, oh, maybe genetics. Genetically, it's a little bit smaller gene pool there than it is in Eastern Kentucky. Most of my friends in Lexington, they're from Eastern Kentucky. They're expats from east of 75. 84 miles, I don't think there's that much of a difference in the gene pool between Eastern Kentucky and Lexington. It's not genetics. That's my impression. It's not genetics. So what's the difference? And I think we have to look a little deeper than that. And like I already told you, half of the deaths, half of the disease you're going to see, two simple things: heart disease and cancer. We know what causes heart disease and cancer. We've known that for a long time. There's a famous article published in 2000 in JAMA, one of the medical journals. Actual causes of death, and when we have class later, we're going to talk about that article in detail. But one of the highlights from that article, a third of all deaths can be attributed to just three simple things: what we smoke, what we eat, and what we choose to do as far as physical activity. And that's not new information. That article came out in 2000. I dug back a little bit farther, and the Surgeon General, remember the warnings on cigarettes, and you don't even see smoking tobacco advertisements anymore because the Surgeon General had something to do with that. But you do, at least if you pick up you pick up a carton of cigarettes, or you pick up some chewing tobacco or snuff or something like that, and you look at it, that warning's been there for years. The Surgeon General's report came out in 1964. And in case you're interested, that's the same year I was born. Okay, so gray hair and all. We got 54 years ago, almost 55 years ago now. We've known for that long, or at least there's been governmental information that smoking is not necessarily a good thing. There's also been a Surgeon General report on nutrition and health. That came out in 1988, 30 years ago. 1996, the Surgeon General report on physical activity and health. So as we get more into class, I used to think, this is something that people just, they don't understand how important these things are. And I'm not so sure that's the case anymore. We've known these things, these same simple facts have been present 30, 40 years. How many of you all don't know that smoking's bad for you? How many, what causes lung cancer? We know that. I promise you people in eastern Kentucky know that. So why aren't we doing better? And that's what we have to think about as future healthcare providers, is what can we do to change behaviors in a meaningful way that actually changes lives. And that's what I hope that we can teach you over the next 2.5 years. Right now you're engrossed in gross anatomy, physiology, and all of the different ologies. You're going to get pharmacology, you're going to get pathophysiology. You're going to come out of here with a great education on biological topics. But what we also hope that you pick up while you're here is, how do you interact with people? How do you make a meaningful difference in somebody's life? How do you make them, well, you can't make anybody do anything. How do you assist them in changing behaviors that may be bad, may be detrimental to their health? So I think right now you see this as a biological thing because we're force-feeding you biology, aren't we? I mean, you just had physiology, you just had anatomy. Those are hard topics. And we're literally, like they say, what's they saying, drinking out of a fire hose, and that's what you're doing. You're just being overwhelmed by that stuff right now. We have to do a little better job in setting a wider table that you can see exactly what medicine's all about, and we're working on that. I want you to think a little bit outside of the biology realm, and let's go back and think about measurements of just things as simple as happiness and well-being. There's all kinds of different scales, and there's been all kinds of different population assessments and measurements of happiness and well-being. But let me take you to one, and let me take you back to Owsley County for just a second. And again, I'm not picking on Owsley County. You could go to almost any other. If you look at the list that I got this from, most of the eastern Kentucky counties show up prominently on there. You're probably not surprised that the heart disease rate much higher than it would be in Fayette County. Probably not surprised that the diabetes rate, lung cancer rate, those things would be much higher than they are here in Fayette County. Did you know that the homicide rate is nearly double Fayette County's? The suicide rate is 2.5 times Fayette County's. And just the accident rate is nearly 3 times that in Fayette County. So there's something more going on. And I use those as just measurements of just societal happiness and well-being. And if people are struggling that much with their day-to-day lives, and we go in with biological fixes, how successful do you think we're going to be as we do that? Probably not very. So we have to learn, we have to get beyond the idea that we can fix everything with a medication or a test or an MRI, or you can go down the long list of things. That's what we're going to really try to ingrain in you in the next 2.5 years, and I don't want you to forget that. This is the first step in that. And actually, this is the first step, because what you're going to be doing today is you're accepting a white coat from us. we let you get warmed up. You got in the program, you went through admissions, you got through your first round of tests, and so now, though, you're accepting this white coat from us. And Dr. Weaver, Tony's going to come up in a minute and talk a lot more eloquently than I ever could about what that actually symbolizes. I got on the AMA website, because that's a lot, I think with the American Medical Association, some of the colleges of medicine, that's where some of these white coat, the more formal ceremonies came from. And on their website it says, receipt of a white coat is often seen as a symbol of authority and professionalism. And what I would like you to think about is maybe it should be a different symbol, or at least have an expanded meaning. And by accepting this white coat from us, what I'd like you to do is see it as accepting a challenge or making a commitment to doing the things necessary to help people. And so rather than being authority and professionalism, I wrote down commitment and altruism. Altruism just meaning selfless concern for the well-being of others. So when you put on the coat, again, it's kind of seen as a symbol of knowledge and a symbol of power and a symbol of authority. But what we also want it to be is an invitation that we're open and that we're here to help others. And we're here to make others' lives much better. And we believe in altruistic values. So with that, I think I'll get off the stage and let the rest of the program continue. I'd like to introduce a colleague of mine, and you've probably met him already. It's Professor Kevin Schuer, and he is going to introduce our keynote address, our keynote speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Black. My name is Kevin Schuer, and it's a real privilege for me to be here in this room. As Dr. Lephart mentioned, this is a beautiful place to have this, so welcome. So I have the privilege to introduce Dr. Tony Weaver. Dr. Anthony Weaver attended undergrad and medical school at the Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. Currently serves as the medical director for the UKPA program. He's also the assistant dean for the University of Kentucky College of Medicine, Rural Physician Leadership Program, and he's also the medical director of the New Hope Free Clinic here in Kentucky. Dr. Weaver hosts a weekly radio show covering healthcare research. The show is called Health Matters, and it's on Morehead State Public Radio. So at this time, if you can find a seatbelt or maybe even a crash helmet, please make welcome for Dr. Tony Weaver.
Hi, my name is Tony Weaver. I live in Morehead, which is 60 miles east of Lexington. So if you use Dr. Black's calculator, I could drop dead at any moment. For that reason, I will be brief. The white coat ceremony. There was a physician named Dr. Arnold Gold, August 20th, 1993 at Columbia University, College of Physicians and Surgeons. He proposed and initiated the white coat ceremony. He was a professor there for 58 years, world-renowned pediatric neurologist. And he became concerned, to be honest. In the 1980s, technological advances, as we all know, which have basically continued and through to this time, allowed healthcare professionals to diagnose diseases in new and faster ways. You guys will become experts on managing laboratory test results, imaging studies. You'll be probably consulting with people using video conferencing equipment and so forth. But he worried that the connection between the doctors and their patients was, in fact, falling away. That human connection, careful listening, paying attention to the patient and their families, Dr. Gold felt was essential, no matter how much the machines could tell us. As a professor, he would watch the students at graduation pledge an oath, and there will be I'm sorry, another oath coming up at your graduation. But he felt that was too late. You had already learned how to practice a certain type of medicine without really understanding the full spectrum necessary to be a healthcare provider, the things that, in fact, Dr. Black was talking about. White coat ceremony emphasizes compassion and the human connection from the very beginning of clinical training. Today, nearly every medical school in America, 260 nursing schools, and many, many physician assistant schools and programs around the globe hold a white coat ceremony. Dr. Gold actually died last month at age 92. But his white coat ceremony certainly will live on because the principles it espouses will live on. Why would we give a person a white coat and a stethoscope to start their training? The white coat was actually popularized in the early 1900s. Frankly, at that time, the medical profession was suffering from a lack of trust and a lack of, frankly, a lack of respect. So they adopted the white coat from their laboratory colleagues to try to essentially rehabilitate their image. The stethoscope, invented in 1816 so that the male doctors would not have to lay their heads on the female patient chest in order to hear their heart sounds and breath sounds. So we are dealing with artifacts, anthropologic artifacts from the history of medicine. Maybe we should give you a new pair of spats and a saddle in order to celebrate the fact that you are, in fact, starting a medical profession. But there is a reason for the white coat. First of all, I want to, I'm not quite as eloquent as Mark Twain, but there was a physician early in American medicine named Sir William Osler. He said this, he said, divide your attention equally between books and men. The strength of the student of books is to sit still for hours at a stretch, eating the heart out of a subject with pencil and notebook, obviously with iPad and iPhone, but still. Determined to master the details, focusing all your energies on its difficulties. And then he said this, he who studies medicine without books sails an uncharted sea, but he who studies medicine without patience does not go to sea at all. This is a different kind of learning you're embarking on. This is not simply 2 more years of what you're used to. It is an entirely different way of learning. There are, in your clinical years, no handouts. I mean, you can make one, but the patients don't bring you a handout to tell you what's wrong with them. The lecture times, patients do not start at 5 minutes after the hour and end in time for you to get a break before your next patient. Patients come when they're sick. They come when they will. And also, and this is a little odd, you're not there to please the professor. You have an entirely different allegiance. If you talk to practicing physicians, they almost never say, you know, I had a question about this on the test. What they say is, I had a patient with this disease. Susan McDowell was the director of residency programs here at the University of Kentucky, and she said, you know, the patients are the frosting on the cake. I mean, that's why we're here. And it is the greatest joy, far greater than acing a test, I assure you, I promise you, to take care of a sick patient and to help them to become better. So you are making a transition from books to people. When you put on that white coat, the symbol of being a healthcare provider, people trust you. And it's not because you pay them tuition, right? They don't get a dime of your tuition, the patients that you're taking care of. They don't know your test scores. They do not know your class rank. They know that you are here to help them. And they are your teachers for your clinical years. They are the frosting on your cake. And the reason they trust you is because previous generations of healthcare providers, physicians, nurses, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, left their dinner tables and their families, gave up their nights and their weekends, and they put themselves in harm's way during times of war to help people get better. They worked long hours battling diseases, but also battling bureaucracy and red tape. And don't get me started. Bill Grimes and I rode over together, and that was pretty much our entire conversation. What can we say to a young student about our healthcare system today? It is not accidental that the life expectancy drops as you drive into rural Kentucky. It is the way our healthcare system is set up. The fact that these people did their very best to take care of the patients in their charge created the trust, and when you put on the white coat, you benefit from that trust. So it is a very important obligation, as Dr. Black mentioned, when that white coat goes on. You have that obligation to those who've gone before you and to those who come after you to keep the patient's trust. Francis Peabody, in a similar time, back in the 1920s, when technology was advancing rapidly, he said, the most common criticism made at present by older practitioners is that young graduates have been taught a great deal about the mechanism of disease, but very little about the practice of medicine. Or to put it more bluntly, they are too scientific and they do not know how to take care of patients. Does that sound familiar? Anybody in the audience? The significance, says Peabody, of the intimate, personal relationship between physician and patient cannot be too strongly emphasized, for in an extraordinarily large number of cases, both the diagnosis and treatment are directly dependent on it, and the failure of a young physician or physician assistant to establish this relationship accounts for much of his ineffectiveness in care of patients. So what's wrong with people in rural Kentucky? Well, they're stupid. I'm saying this as a person who was born and raised in rural Kentucky. They eat the wrong foods. They drink the wrong drinks. They smoke things. They don't take care of themselves. They don't exercise. All right, tell them that. Establish a relationship of trust. Change things. I mean, the great thing about all the things that Dr. Black says is, where would you want to practice medicine? At the place where the people are the sickest, and you're there. Congratulations to all of you. You're there. This is the right place for you. We have work for you to do, I promise. This is a wonderful place to practice medicine because you can do so much good here. And never forget that. Now, there's constant pressure to leave the bedside and avoid these relationships, right? I mean, when you're in school, you need to study for the exam. You've got to spend some time at home. You need some me time. You've got to exercise. You've got to take care of your own self. Pulls you away from the patient. Well, I will tell you, it gets worse after you get out. There is a wealth of regulatory oversight that you have to satisfy. There is paperwork. There is documentation. We know for a fact that physicians and healthcare providers spend about half their time in front of a computer. The system is designed to pull you away from your patients. It is designed to compromise the effectiveness that Peabody talked about. So how do you fight that? You've got to keep this part principle. Medicine outside of that trust relationship is not going to work. It just isn't. It has failed the people of rural Kentucky. It has failed the people of the United States. Unless you can build those trust relationships. And that's why we are here, to tell you, listen to your patients. Build a relationship with your patients. That is much more important than anything else you will learn. If you have that, you'll find the answer to the biology question. You'll find out the drug interaction. You'll find out what the imaging report means if you have a relationship with the patient. If you don't, it doesn't matter. So, keep your white coats clean. When you complain a patient is too dirty, too addicted, or too stupid to care for, your white coat gets dirty. When you laugh about the patient behind their back, when you post their picture on social media or fail to address their needs and their fears, your white coat gets dirty. So I want you to wash the white coat because I don't want you bringing germs in the hospital, but also I want you to keep it clean. And finally, audience participation as well, not jeopardy. But these young people are the future. I mean, everyone says that. There's even a song about that. But they are the future of healthcare in Kentucky, and this is way too important to leave to university people. This is something that we all have to do. We all have to take a role. First of all, we have to show them that patients are people too, and that they'll need to listen. We also have to remind these students that they themselves are people. They need your love. They need your support, because they are starting on a long journey that's going to be a difficult one. So remind them of the patients that they're seeing, and also help us take care of your loved one. To the class, congratulations. You're transitioning from books to men. Congratulations on that. That white coat may be a little bit harder to keep clean than you thought, but I promise you, you will look marvelous in it. Thank you very much.
If you're following along, I'm not Sam Powdrill. I only wish I was Sam Powdrill. But again, Kevin Schuer, and I am the MC for this portion of presenting the class of 2021 to you all. So as we do this, it'll be funny, it'll be awkward, but we'll get through it. One thing we'd like to ask is that you hold your applause to the end. We'll get everybody looking nice with their coats on, and warm round of applause at the end. Okay? Good to go? 2 thumbs up. No music? Okay, no, that's okay. No. Okay, here we go. Sarah Bailey. Told you, awkward. Right. Austin Barrett. Sarah Bickett. Caitlin Bledsoe. Lexi Badine. Andrea Burford. Wayne Calderaro. Forget, there's no laughing either, sorry. Kiera Chambers. Michaelin Combs. Brent Cotter. Megan Kraft. Elliot Day. Lauren Einchers. Ashley Frankowski. Okay. This is trivia. Did you want to play some trivia? Okay. Catherine Graham. Emily Gum. Carter Hahn. Robert Harris. Rachel Hayes. Caitlin Heap. Ahil Harani. Aaron Hochleitner. Crushed. Stephen Hoke. Maj Jabur. Nicolina Johnborg. Megan Johnson. Tyler Jors. Whitney Cost. Gloria Maldonado. Katie Martin. Nicole Mers. Jonathan Michael. Madeline Miles. Ashley Molitor. Brandon Moorhead. Charles C. Nave. Nicholas Noble. Whitney O'Brien. Casey Etchen. Keyshawn Patel. Abigail Patterson. Jenna Petrie. Alexa Robinson. Maria Rodriguez. Aaron Schlenther. Chandler Sparkman. Sierra Stewart. Michaela Stumbo. Amy Tatum. Brooke Todd. Cheyenne Trammell. Angelica Tuttle. Kyle Vance. Mark Vignas. Lindsay Watson. Jonathan White. So at this time, we'd like the class to stand, turn around, and we'd like to welcome the class of 2021.
I'm Bill Grimes. I came out of retirement to teach this group of students, and I'm delighted that I did, let me tell you. First of all, I want to say I've been to many white coat ceremonies. I have never had it so quiet, because inevitably somebody starts cheering when their person in their family comes up and get their coat, but you guys were great. It was I'm amazed. It really was great. Okay, so like I said, I came out of retirement to teach these students, and I tell you what, I am so glad that I did. It has been a really, really, really great experience, okay? Now, you guys can take a nap. I'm going to talk to the people up there. All right, you guys take a nap. One of the things I asked them to do in class the first couple of weeks, I asked them to write in one page in their journal discussing 5 personal values or beliefs that were most important to them, okay? Now, I have to say, I was deeply, deeply impressed by the way that these students took this assignment to heart and truly reached inside their hearts and souls and put their past experiences, joys, sadness, defeats, wins, spiritual experiences, and life journeys into prose. There is no doubt in my mind that each of them has developed a deep sense of meaning and direction in their lives. Having them as students in this program seems to me to be a sign that we did indeed carefully and thoughtfully pick the right students for positions in this class. Compassion, caring, thoughtfulness, earnestness, and so many other virtues are essential to us as healthcare providers. And these young people have shown wholeheartedly that they embrace their calling to be caring persons. Now, I would have loved to brought all 56 of the essays that they wrote and read them to you. But guess what? We can't do that. So I'm going to tell you what the 5 most important things they picked was, just so you can get an idea of what's in the hearts of these students. Number 1, faith. Number 2, honesty. Number 3, family. That's you guys, family, okay? Number 4, respect. And the 5th one was compassion. Do those 5 things not make a great healthcare provider? I mean, yeah, really, yeah. That's what they got. And as I prepare to, as I prepare to lead you in the oath, I want to say this. I pray that you will have peace, that you will love yourselves and others, and that you will reach all of your goals. Now, would you please stand and recite with me the physician assistant professional oath? I pledge to perform the following duties with honesty and dedication. A little louder so everybody can hear you, okay? I will hold as my primary responsibility the health, safety, and welfare and dignity of all human beings. I will uphold the tenets of patient autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, and justice. I will recognize and promote the value of diversity. I will treat equally all persons who seek my care. I will hold in confidence the information shared in the course of practicing medicine. I will assess my personal capabilities and limitations, striving always to improve my medical practice. I will actively seek to expand my knowledge and skills, keeping abreast of advances in medicine. I will work with other members of the healthcare team to provide compassionate and effective care of patients. I will use my knowledge and experience to contribute to an improved community. I will respect my professional relationship with the physician, and I will share and expand knowledge within the profession. These duties are pledged with sincerity and upon my honor. Now turn around and get another round of applause from everybody. Woo!
like, okay. As we leave, we'll have a reception outside and pictures as well. So the students have to get their group picture. So you want them exiting over here, Jules? The students? All go out this way. So students, you can line up and head up, follow the faculty. Thank you very much for being here. Wait a minute.
I was like, I feel like getting on the microphone. Hey, you're just
I do.